The Culture Pop Podcast is brought to you by the law offices of Jacob and Ronnie.
Accident or injury, call Jacob and Ronnie. Call Jacob.
Hey, it's Mase. If you or a friend or loved one is injured in an accident, the first person you should call is my friend Jacob. When I did this, Jacob was great. He helped me by talking through the next steps, which really put my mind at ease. When you're injured in an accident, you got to have an expert. That's why you call Jacob, just like I did. Call Jacob, 844-24-JACOB. That's 844-24-JACOB, or visit calljacob.com.
Call Jacob.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Culture Pop Podcast. I'm Steve Mason, along with 𝐊𝐚𝐭𝐫𝐢𝐧𝐚. This is the show where we talk about everything that is happening in pop culture. And great guest today, it is actress Katerina McCrimmon, who is currently touring in Funny Girl, which I got to see at the Pantages. And Sue, she's a powerhouse. She's unbelievable.
Well, it's coming to theater in Orange County.
It's going to Costa Mesa.
Costa Mesa. So I'm gonna go see it when it goes there, because
Awesome.
I've watched a lot of video of her, and breaks my heart that I missed it.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's amazing. So we got that coming up for you. In the meantime, Sue, I got to go out and see the first big movie of the summer. It is called Fall Guy. I'm sure you know about the movie.
I certainly do.
So it is about a stuntman who's played by Ryan Gosling, who falls in love with his director, who's played by Emily Blunt. It is a great, big, romantic comedy. Lots of explosions for people that are into that. Lots of sparks in the relationship for people who are into that. And that darn Ryan Gosling is just so charming, and that Emily Blunt is just, and they have great chemistry together. Now, is that a movie you'll go out and see?
It's not on my top 10 list, but I like both of them very, very much. And I actually literally bumped into Ryan Gosling many years ago.
Really?
I was at Dan Tana's, which was kind of a ritual dinner that I would do with a bunch of friends.
Yep.
And it was very, very crowded, and I was standing inside, but against the door. And all of a sudden, the door just like comes open. And it's Ryan Gosling. He's like, "Oh God, I'm so sorry." I was like, you can hit me with a door anytime.
Yeah.
But he was just adorable. I mean, and seeing him in person.
So my movie star crush has always been Keanu Reeves. But I think coming out of this movie, I may have moved my movie star crush title over to Ryan Gosling. He is so good and so funny. So here's the thing about that movie. It came out on the first Friday in May, which is the start of Hollywood blockbuster season. And it bombed. It only did $27 million. So this is bad news for movie theaters and people in the movie business, because it is going to be a really, really soft summer. Partly because, a lot of it is because of the strike. We're sort of in that gap where the strike prevented movies from moving forward. I think that's what's going on right now.
Right.
And the good news is we're recording this on Friday, May the 10th, and the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is opening this weekend, and that is projected to do $140 million.
Whoa.
So that is going to turn things around at the box office, at least in the short term. And I cannot wait to see this movie. So, Sue, the very first movie I saw in my entire life was Planet of the Apes. I was 3 years old. I went back and checked the dates. I was at the drive-in with my parents. My recollection, and again, I was 3, was that they fell asleep and I stayed awake for the movie, scared the living shit out of me. Just scared me like crazy.
It's like one of those pivotal moments in your life where you say, "Oh, I know where I was there when I saw that movie." I saw that movie with it was like my elementary school boyfriend, I guess, or maybe I think we were in elementary school. How old are you? You're 59?
I'm 59. So this would have been 1968 when the movie came out.
Okay, so I was I was born in 57, so I was 11 years old? No.
Yeah, right.
I was 11. Okay. So I went with my boyfriend and his parents, and we got there a little bit late for the movie, but we got there a little bit late. So the only seats were the first row.
Okay.
Which I usually would just leave, but I'm 11 and I don't
You're
drive.
11. I mean, you're not taking...
I don't drive. There's no Uber. So I have to stay with the plan. And I love that movie so much.
It's so good.
It was so creepy, but and to date, I think it was the best one.
Oh, I think it's an absolute classic. And I mean, you got Charlton Heston overacting like crazy. Get your hands off me, you damn dirty ape.
I have damn apes. Oh, that's when he saw the Statue of Liberty, right? And
you did it. You blew up. Yeah, that whole thing.
Yeah.
So unbelievably entertainingly overwrought. And so, yeah, that movie haunted me for a long time. So this, and there have been a number of this modern Planet of the Apes movies. This is going back to the original one. It's the storyline from the very first one in 1968.
You see, that's great. You see, I'll go see that.
Yeah, because it's the one where the apes already run the world, and some humans get there, and then they're hunting the humans so they can put them in cages and turn them into servants and all that kind of stuff. So that's what the storyline is for this one. So I'm excited for it because it's going to take me back to when I was 3.
That's great.
Yeah.
So there are some movies coming up that I'm very excited to see.
Okay, good.
So one of them is Sing Sing. Do you know about it?
I don't.
It's Colman Domingo.
Yep.
Plays he plays I guess it's in it. He plays an actor. To see it, I'm trying to think if he's an actor or he is in prison, and it's based on these programs that they have in prisons. Like when I went to San Quentin, they had a Shakespeare acting program.
Right.
So it's kind of in that vein. And there are real prisoners who actually went through the program who are acting in it as well.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
So that sounds great. And you know who's in it? Paul Raci from Coda.
Oh, yeah.
No, The Sound of Metal.
Paul Raci. Oh, he's great.
He's great.
Yeah, he's great. Okay, good.
So that's one movie. And then there's a movie called Thelma.
Okay.
That's coming out. And it's inspired by the director's grandmother, Josh Morgan. Oh, no. Yeah. So it's June Squibb.
Oh, I love her from Nebraska.
She's amazing. All right. So she's 94 years old. Okay. And she does some of her own stunts. Which is
she
crazy.
does some of her own stunts?
Yes. Riding a scooter and things like that. She did it herself. So just based on that alone, it's, I have to go
94 years old. I mean, you fall off a scooter, you break a hip, right?
It's crazy. I wonder if she's got all the padding and stuff that,
Yeah, right. Yeah, protective pads.
So she's a victim of a phone scam, and then she seeks vengeance.
So this 94-year-old June Squibb is playing a character that goes out, as she's like Liam Neeson in Taken. She has a unique set of skills, including riding a scooter. That sounds entertaining. That sounds fun. Anything else jump out at you?
Yes. Well, Yorgos Lanthimos has a new movie called Kinds of Kindness. And it's an anthology of 3 stories. And that's all they're really talking about. They're not giving you any information. But Emma Stone is in it, and Willem Dafoe is in it, and Margaret Qualley is in it, and Jesse Plemons.
Yeah. Now, he's the guy, Yorgos Lanthimos, who did Poor Things, and before that, The Lobster was another one of his movies.
Yes, and I guess
very weird filmmaker.
His co-writer from The Lobster and Dogtooth, he wrote it with what's his name? This is such a hard name to pronounce. Efthimis Philippou or something like that.
Yes, I know his work.
Okay.
Oh, it's got that Philippou touch on his work.
Don't Philippou me. What else?
So let me. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go.
Okay, I was going to say the one I'm really excited for is Furiosa. Do you know Furiosa?
No, I don't.
Okay, so this is the prequel to to Mad Max,
Yes.
the most recent Mad Max, Fury Road, which is real. Have you ever seen that?
No, I only watched. I think I only saw 2 Mad Maxes.
Oh, this you got to see Mad Max Fury Road. It's got some of the craziest stunts and wild live action chases and fights that you're ever going to see anywhere. And this Furiosa is the prequel. So Anya Taylor-Joy is playing young Charlize Theron, which works, right? That works.
Yep.
The reviews are out. Some of the reviews are out, and they are very, very positive. So let me I've got one right here. George Miller's Furiosa is powerhouse action filmmaking at its absolute best, a ferocious and relentlessly paced epic that expands the story of Furiosa and the wasteland while delivering the craziest chases, the most bombastic characters, and just plain stunning cinematography. Now, I think this is going to be one of the big movies of the summer.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, a lot of big Mad Max fans for sure.
So George Miller, the director, he's directed all the Mad Max movies. One of the things he considered was doing the prequel with Charlize Theron and using that de-aging technology that they've got now in movies. And he ultimately said he didn't want to do it because as soon as you do that, everybody's looking for little flaws. Like when you watch The Irishman, you're like, yeah, De Niro, that doesn't really seem like him. So that's why he didn't do it. What do you think of that de-aging technology?
I think it's creepy.
Yeah, I do too. It's weird.
I think, yeah. I mean, it's so,
and it doesn't work right now. Maybe someday it'll work, but right now it doesn't work.
Right. And it just when you can kind of see the strings of something.
Yeah.
It's unnecessary.
Yeah. This is an interesting test case for the summer. June the 14th, Bad Boys Ride or Die with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. So this is Will Smith's first blockbuster since The Slap at the 2022 Oscars. Now, is he still a major mainstream box office star despite The Slap?
I think people who are a fan of that franchise are going to see it.
Yeah.
Regardless. I don't think that they really care.
I think there is no residual resentment for Will Smith at all. It's now viewed as like this crazy thing that a movie star did that is now in his past, and he's back to doing what he does the best. I don't think it's going to have any impact whatsoever.
Yeah.
None.
And there's huge, Martin Lawrence fans too, so you're not going to keep them away because of Will Smith.
Exactly. July 26th will be the biggest movie this summer. It is Deadpool and Wolverine. So this is Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. Marvel Cinematic Universe has been having a hard time. This is their only release in 2024. It's going to be R-rated. Deadpool is a really foul-mouthed superhero. So you're going to have Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds. I think this will be the biggest movie this summer, hands down. Probably, I'm just going to throw out a number, at least $500 million worldwide. At least.
Have you seen all the Deadpools?
Oh, yeah. Have you?
I haven't seen any of them.
Oh, you would love him. Because he's
Are they fun? They're fun?
Oh, they're super fun. They're really funny. Because Ryan Reynolds is really funny. And Deadpool he's a very R-rated superhero. So he'll say things that nobody else in the MCU will actually say. So you should see a Deadpool just to get the vibe of it before you see Deadpool and Wolverine. But that's going to be the biggest one. There's one other that jumped out at me. There are some of them. They're just stupid. August 16th, Alien Romulus. This is the 8th Alien movie. Alien movie number 8. Now, the first 2 were perfect movies.
Oh, God. The first one scared the shit out of me.
Terrifying. I also saw that as a little kid, and I was just like...
Now, these were movies your parents took you to?
No. Mr. Reason across the street was a bit of a renegade, and he took me and my friend Casey, his son, to see these movies. I remember seeing Tommy as a little kid. I was probably like 12 when I saw Tommy. I was probably like 13 or 14 when I saw Alien. I mean, I was definitely seeing movies that were not appropriate for me, but Mr. Reason was letting me in.
Now, were your parents aware of these movies that you were seeing, or they were
My parents never knew half the shit I was doing.
Because when Psycho came out, obviously the original Psycho, my parents were out of town, and we had a housekeeper who was, used to take care of us. So all my brothers and sisters were out of the house, so it was just me. And my sister still lived there. I don't know where my sister was. Anyway, I started to watch it and with my friend, and she came into the room and shut it off. She said, "You are not watching this." So then we left and we went to my friend's house and we started watching it there. We were like, okay, great.
Right.
And her brother came in the room, our older brother came in the room and said, "You're not watching this." And then I had to wait until I was, a little bit older to see it.
I was like that with The Exorcist. The Exorcist was a movie that I saw when I was way too young, and I was Catholic. Well, I guess is the appropriate verb. Yeah, I was Catholic.
Were you a practicing Catholic?
I was a practicing Catholic. And by the way, I got really good at it, so I didn't have to practice anymore. So, but I think that The Exorcist, that one really terrified me. And I was a little older. I was probably 15 when I saw The Exorcist. I was forbidden to see it, but we had a free trial of HBO. We never had HBO when I was a kid. But like 2 months a year, they would say, okay, we're making HBO free for a month, trying to hook you. So whenever HBO was free, I would watch every single movie on HBO. And so that was one of them. We also had the book. My mom and dad had the book down in the basement. They had 3 books. I think I don't know if I told you this story, but I've told this story. They had 3 books that I was very interested in and told not to read. The Exorcist.
They told you not to read them, but they made it accessible for you to read.
Correct. They just said don't read them. Oh. So
it's like putting candy on a shelf and saying don't eat.
Every day after school, I would come home and I would read. Well, I read The Exorcist, which is terrifying for a little kid. I read Helter Skelter, which was also terrifying. And then I read The Happy Hooker by Xavier Hollander. But these were books that I was forbidden to read. So like any kid, I immediately began my summer reading class right there.
So did you like hole up in your room, like under the blanket with a flashlight?
No, we were down in the basement.
Oh,
so down in the basement. Yeah, my mom never came down in the basement, so we were reading down there. I was reading. My brother was drinking Little King's cream ale. That's the way it went in our basement.
How old was he?
16, 17. Yeah.
He was getting drunk in the corner while you were.
I was reading The Happy Hooker. What a life. All right, we're going to get to our guest. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please subscribe to the Culture Pop Podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating and a review. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button and subscribe. You can also leave us a comment down below, maybe what summer movie you're most excited for, or react to anything we talked about on the show today. And here we go. Our guest is unbelievable on stage as Fanny Brice and the national touring company of Funny Girl. Katerina McCrimmon joins us. Katerina, thanks so much for coming on. I'm so excited to have you because I saw the show, was absolutely blown away. You're amazing. So congratulations.
Well, thank you so much, Steve.
That must be a nice way to start an interview, right?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
So you're in San Francisco right now, right?
That's right, yeah.
And I always wonder, because I see every show that comes through town, I always wonder, what is the life of a touring company star like? Like, do you ever wake up in the morning and say, where am I?
Yes, quite often, actually. Or at the very least, where am I going? I'm packing up my bags. We live out of suitcases, and that is the life. And I'm thinking to myself, is next week Charlotte? Is it Atlanta? Are we going to, where are we going? I don't know what's the next city, but I just know I got to get on a plane and hope for the best. Yeah, it's quite an interesting life. I never thought that I would tour in this way, and I'm glad that this is the way I'm starting. It's quite a way to start because I've never toured before.
I was a stand-up comic for many, many years, so I was on the road sometimes for, maybe a month at a time, or maybe, 6 weeks. And I want to know, like, it changed my routine because I wasn't home. So how do you acclimate? Does it really change that much while you're away?
It does. I mean, it's interesting because I feel like touring is a blessing and a curse. The blessing is that I get to see the whole country. I get to go to places that I never would have really gone to if it wasn't for the tour, and enjoy and be surprised that I enjoy it. And the curse is that, I almost completely lose my routine. Every city is different. The time zones are different. And maintaining a relationship long distance, I'm married. I've been married for 3 years. And, having to deal with the time zone changes and working through that can be incredibly challenging, and maintaining friendships too. So it's a little bit of everything, and I'm grateful. I'm so grateful because this show is incredible, and this role is the chance of a lifetime,
Yeah.
But it does have its challenges for sure.
So when I was a kid growing up in Toledo, Ohio, I wanted more than anything to be on Broadway.
Oh,
Yeah, I was such I was so into it, and I felt like I was, but I never had a voice the way obviously you have a voice. I always had to do the talk sing characters. So I played like in Camelot, I played in My Fair Lady. Anywhere there was a talk singing role, I was invited to do it. When you were a little kid growing up in Miami, were you dreaming of this? Were you dreaming of, I want to be on stage and I want to perform and I want to go to Broadway and all that stuff?
So I didn't know what Broadway was until I was maybe about 9 or 10. But I knew that's what I wanted to do. I just didn't know what it was yet, because I grew up in a household with an English teacher for a dad, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. There wasn't a lot of artistic enrichment happening. It was a pretty simple life in the suburbs of Miami. And it wasn't until I saw my first play when I was about 9 that I realized, oh, whatever they're doing is what I want to do. Because I grew up watching like The Sound of Music and Grease, the movies, and I would be enthralled by Julie Andrews and Olivia Newton-John and, whoever else were in these great movie musicals back in the day. And I would think to myself, oh my God, I want to do what they're doing. I just don't know how or what that is. And then once I saw my first play in real life, I was like, oh, that's what it is. And then I never stopped since.
So when was the first time you saw Funny Girl?
So the first time I saw the movie, because, nobody does the show anymore. This revival was historic because of that, because nobody wants to touch it because of Barbra, And the first time I saw the movie, I was about 16, I want to say. And I was dating a boy in high school, and his mom told me that I would play Fanny Brice one day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she looked at me and she said, have you seen Funny Girl, the movie? And I was like, I don't even know what that is. She goes, okay, you're watching it right now. So she put it on for us. And I remember watching it and thinking, I see it. I see that. Okay. All right. And I kind of forgot about it. But I never forgot the music. I grew up singing the songs. In high school, I actually sang People at the Kennedy Center.
Wow.
And I sang The Music That Makes Me Dance in my senior recital in college. So the music has always been with me. And then I got the audition and I was like, ding, I remember that moment.
Wow.
Yeah,
Because
that's
I saw the
crazy.
movie. I saw the movie not that long ago, a couple of months ago. I just randomly, came on Netflix or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was with my sister and I said, oh God, we have to watch it. I hadn't seen it since I originally saw it as a kid.
Oh my God.
And just I watched some video of you because I didn't get to see the show. And I'm telling you, your voice is equal. And I won't say better than Barbra Streisand, but it is just right on par with Barbra Streisand. And it just completely blew me away. That's why I get the chills just thinking about it, because you were phenomenal in this.
Thank you.
For the little bit that I got to see, but just hearing your voice. You have such a beautiful voice.
Thank you.
Your voice, I'm wondering, how much is it what you're born with, and how much is it whatever training and learning that you did?
I would say it's like 80% natural and 20% learned. I've always had this voice since I was a little kid. Obviously it's matured and grown as I've gotten older, but the minute I gained consciousness, I could sing. It's just something that I was born with, and I don't know where it comes from, because nobody in my family sings really. I mean, my mom has a sweet voice, she can carry a tune, and it's not gonna blow you away, but it's lovely, it's sweet. And nobody in my immediate family is tone deaf, I would say, but I can't think of anyone in my lineage that was an opera singer or I don't know where it comes from. I have no idea. But that, I guess I started taking voice lessons seriously in college, and that helped, but I think that the voice was kind of always there.
What, if any, was the change in how you sang songs in the show from when you first started rehearsing to opening night? Was there an evolution of how the way you were singing changed?
Yeah. I mean, I think with confidence, I took up more space. I was actually listening to a recording of I'm the Greatest Star, which is one of the first songs that Fanny sings in the show. I was listening to a recording in the rehearsal room, and I realized, I was like, wow, I don't really sing it like this at all anymore. I've completely made it my own. I think when you're starting rehearsals, you're trying really hard to get the notes on the page, right? Making sure that you're singing what was written and keeping the integrity of the music. And now I feel like, I'm still keeping the integrity of the music, I would hope, but at the same time, I'm allowing myself to come through the music a lot more than when I was in the rehearsal room. And I think that just takes time. Just takes time to be in the show and to realize, okay, I can actually expand a little bit more. And it's crazy how you think there are boundaries and limits, but then you pass them and then you pass them again. And you're like, oh, I could grow even more in this role than I did 100 performances ago. It's insane.
There are three great big showstoppers in Funny Girl. Don't Rain on My Parade, obviously. I'm the Greatest Star, and People. Which of those three is the most challenging for you?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good question. I mean, they're all quite challenging. I mean, I think objectively they're challenging. I think for me, I mean, I feel like this role was made for me. I tell you, when I do the role, it's I don't have to even put on anything, because Fanny and I have become the same person at this point. It's crazy. But of those three songs, I'm the Greatest Star, I suppose, would be the most challenging because of how much physical energy I have to have on stage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you saw the show. I'm doing all of these different bits and voices and characters, and I'm running around the stage, and I climb on a ladder at one point. Like, it's physically the most challenging for sure, I think. But then people, it's the most simple song, the simplest song, and I'm just sitting in a chair and talking to Nick and just kind of philosophizing and talking about life. But the song itself is pretty challenging to sing. It's so beautiful, and there's such high expectations around the song too, because of how beautifully Barbra sang it. So I think in other ways that one is challenging, but I think physically, probably I'm the Greatest Star takes the most stamina to sing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you ever met Barbra Streisand?
No. I wish. She keeps to herself from what I've heard. She's pretty reclusive. She takes her own takes time for herself and doesn't like to be in the spotlight. And I think she's working on a new album right now.
Yeah.
She was invited to the show, I know, but I don't take it personally. I know that it's also hard to come to the show that is like so iconically you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of expectations for her to respond a certain way, or and
Mm-hmm.
I if I was in her position, I could only imagine how that would feel. So, I would love to meet her one day. I think she's amazing.
Right. I guess, for me, if I had originated the role, and this is me speaking, and I had read these reviews, I would want to go see you, for me. But
Right.
I totally get, Barbra, the whole Barbra thing.
When you were getting ready, did you think, okay, now Barbra did it this way, I need to give it my own personal touch? Like, was that in your head as you were getting ready, or were you watching her and saying, oh, I see what she did, I'm going to try to go down that road too?
So I get this question a lot, and I gotta say, I didn't even really give that a thought.
Good.
I hadn't seen the movie since I was a teenager, and I didn't really grow up listening to that music, honestly. Like, when I would sing the songs in my childhood, and when, as a teenager and in college, I would just go by the music. I didn't really listen to Barbra do it. So luckily, I didn't really have her voice in my head. So I wasn't copying her. And I only saw the movie, as a kid. So I didn't really remember, her performance. I knew I loved it when I saw it. But I wasn't afraid that I would be mimicking, because I didn't have a lot to go off of.
Mm-hmm.
And once I got the role, I was like, okay, steering clear. I'm not listening.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really want to copy. I wanted to, I think the creative team and the producers that brought this revival to Broadway, one of their main goals was to prove that the show could exist without Barbra, with all respect,
Mm-hmm.
but in a way that this story deserves to be told without having to rely on Barbra. It can have a new actor tell the story 60 years later and still be relevant and still be exciting. It was like paying respect to the show. So with that, I wanted to help that goal, help that message, and make it my own and not copy somebody who already did it, So I approached it as an actor would. I read the script, and I took a look at what Fanny wanted and what was happening in the scenes, and just approached the show without thinking about the past performances.
So you were saying that your parents, there wasn't a lot of like music or somewhat culture that you were exposed to, but being Cuban American, have you spent time in Cuba? Because my brother and I have a couple of friends that have gone there numerous times, and they said that it's just filled with music everywhere you go. They said you can't walk down a street and not see people on a stoop playing music, singing. Is that Is that your experience?
So I've never been to Cuba. I wish.
Okay.
My mom, she moved here from Cuba when she was about 8 or 9, something like that. So pretty early on. And it's so complicated for Cuban Americans who moved from Cuba because the situation there is pretty sad. There's so much poverty, and the government situation there is extremely devastating. So it's hard. I would love to visit, obviously, like being Cuban and growing up with, talking to my grandparents about it and my aunts and my uncles and hearing their experiences in Cuba. I've always longed to go and like understand that part of myself even more. But it is so challenging, because my mom is, I talked to her and she's like, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back, So I don't know, maybe one day that would be amazing. But yeah, I mean, my grandmother played a lot of music for us, Celia Cruz, Benny Moré, like a lot of Cuban artists. And I would say, I don't know if they influenced my voice, but I definitely enjoyed listening to them when I was growing up. And my dad's not Cuban. Well, kind of. His mom was born in Cuba, but she grew up in Panama. So kind of a little bit of Cuban, I don't know. My mom is the Cuban side. But
Cuba adjacent.
Yeah, right. Cuba adjacent. But my dad was kind of the one who showed me a lot of my musical influences. He played a lot of jazz for me. Joni Mitchell, I love her.
Oh, Joni Mitchell.
Ella Fitzgerald. Like my dad was the one who showed me that kind of side. I think those are kind of the artists that influenced my voice.
So I saw you do Funny Girl at a matinee.
Oh yeah.
And I always think, damn, I just saw what she did, and now she's going to do the whole thing again in just a couple of hours. What's that feeling like between shows where like, oh, I'm exhausted, but I got to ramp up again?
Oh, I tell you. Steve, it's not easy.
I believe it.
It's not easy. Those days are brutal, I gotta say. Speaking quite candidly, those days are brutal. I think it's just this role is all encompassing.
Yeah.
You have to be funny, you have to be vulnerable, you have to have your heart break into a million pieces. You have to, it's everything. So by the time the show's over, I'm a raw nerve, and then I have to like put myself back up together again and be funny, So
Yeah.
It's very hard. It's very hard. And, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yes.
I have to make sure that this show is great for the people who pay money to see it. And it comes with a lot of pressure because, if I don't feel 100%, the performance is not going to be 100%. So I have to take care of myself, and I have to, take a nap between shows. I can't really go out to dinner with people. So it can be a little lonely in certain ways because of the responsibility that comes with it. But I try to, lately, now we're already, I think we're on 250 performances, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's also muscle memory in a way, like if I'm not feeling 100%, I can trust that my body will take me through the show for me. Because how many times I've done it, it's like getting on a ride almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you ever do something a little bit different? I mean, just to kind of keep it fresh for you. I mean, I know in the confines of a stage show, you can't really mess with, where you're standing and you have to kind of, you don't want to screw up another actor's rhythm. But is there anything that you do personally to just tweak it a little bit for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I plan it. I think a lot of it, if you're listening as an actor, then the response will naturally be a little different because we're not robots, We're not, I would hope that.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. But the way we're going, who knows, really? But, naturally, we're just going to respond differently. If somebody says, how are you, one day, and then to the next day, we're not always going to respond the same way. So on stage, it's similar. I mean, we're always going to hit our marks, right? like you said, we have to be so the lighting can hit us. But I'm not going to experience the story the same way every day, depending on how I'm feeling or, where I'm at emotionally. It's going to be a little different. And also because of the fact that we don't always have the same cast on. That we have understudies who sometimes take over roles for a day or two, depending on if someone's sick or out of town or, life goes on. And so if I'm playing opposite somebody new, it's going to be a different experience and I'm going to respond differently, especially if it's someone going on differently for Mrs. Brice or Nikki or, one of the main people that I play with. It's going to be a different response. So I would say yes and no. I'm always going to hit the same marks and I'm always going to sing the same notes and do the same choreography and blocking, but the acting perhaps maybe is going to be a little different, nothing crazy different, but now if you saw the show twice, you might say, oh, that was kind of different from what I remember. So
yeah. So Sue, you'll see this, but this is my last thing for you. So I'm in that theater and I'm in an audience and it's that collective experience of being just mesmerized by what we're watching, right? And I want to know, especially during your big songs, during People in particular, I just felt like, what's it like to hold an audience in the palm of your hands?
On the other side, it's hard to tell because I'm looking into a black, like nebulous abyss.
Yes.
There are lights in my eyes. So literally, it depends on the number. Like some of the numbers where I have more audience interaction, I can really see how they're responding to the show. But other numbers, I have no idea. And I'm just like, I hope they like it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, there is, I think I can really tell how the audience is going to be after I'm the greatest star, depending on how they respond to that. If it's a matinee, it might be a little sleepier, but a lot of the evening performances, the applause will last like 30 seconds, which outside of context seems like a small amount of time, but in theater, 30 seconds is an eternity. So it is cool. And that's when I know, they're really with us. They're with the story. They're really like excited about what's going to come next.
Yeah.
So it is interesting. It's hard to tell for the actors.
Yeah. Well, it's as an audience member, let me tell you, it's there. It was there that day. Listen, this has been great. I want to let everybody know that Funny Girl is coming back to Southern California, May the 28th through June the 9th at the Segerstrom Center for the Arts in Costa Mesa. Sue, you got to get out there and see the show.
I will. I am definitely going to go see it for sure.
And Katerina, this has been great. Thank you very much for coming on, and congratulations on the run.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Sue.
There you have it, Katerina McCrimmon, and Sue, she is going to be a gigantic star.
Oh, God. I can just tell just from the little clips that I saw.
It blows the roof off the theater.
When she was saying that she was made for this role, she so was made for this role.
Yeah, she really was. She really was. Katerina McCrimmon, again, going to be a really big star. If you get a chance to see Funny Girl, wherever you're listening, Southern California, it's coming back, but she's going to places like Charlotte and D.C. and all over the country. So if you get a chance to check it out, go see Funny Girl starring Katerina McCrimmon. There you have it. There is our Culture Pop podcast for today. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for listening. We will see you next time.